A newspaper website. A newspaper website, those are really good actually for current events. So for instance, if you're going to like CNN or newspapers, New York Times, these are good ones. If they're updated regularly because it's current events, then those can provide really good resources. So have you guys been to a newspaper website before? Raise your hand. I see a lot of raised hands. Now, why do you think websites like the New York Times and CNN, why are those generally good, pretty good resources?
Because it's about things that's happening currently, like now.
They do talk about things that happen currently, but another thing is that journalists, for most of these different organizations, for NBC, ABC, they are usually going to be fairly neutral, right? So journalists are supposed to be objective. That means that they're not going to be on this side or another. They're not going to be Republican or Democrat. They're going to be just standing in the middle and reporting like that. So you can usually find fairly neutral, good information on websites dedicated to the news. Does the website include sources such as a bibliography or footnotes that tells us where the web authors obtain their information? Why is this so important? Sources. Why are sources important?
Because they tell you a lot.
Well, one reason is that when you know where information comes from, you're able to go there and verify that it's correct. So let's say I'm writing an article about AP calculus, which you know I know nothing about, and I don't list any sources. Even not knowing that I don't know anything about AP calculus. So let's say you have no idea who I am. I'm writing an article about AP calculus and I don't list any sources. Why would that be bad? Why would that make you suspicious?
Because you might be a bad person.
Well, where are you the question where you get the information from? If you hand me a paper, you show me know where you got your information from about the tree report that you know nothing about, what would I do? There you go.
You might copy it from something.
Yeah, I might be just copying the whole article and not giving credit. If I copied an entire article, said that I wrote it, and put it on a website, what is that called?
What that's called?
Plagiarism. Plagiarism means you're copying somebody's work without giving them credit, which means putting in quotes saying this is the person who wrote it, or obtaining their permission. So plagiarism is really, really serious. If you plagiarize in school, that can mean getting some serious punishment, especially at the college level. That plagiarism is a really serious problem. So you need sources in order to clarify, one, that it's not plagiarized material, it's not copied material. Secondly, that the person is using respected sources that have the correct information. And thirdly, it's nice to have a bibliography so that you can go to those sources yourself and maybe find more information from them. So let's play a quick little game. Let's pretend that we are writing a research paper on an explorer. A website that I found, it's called All About Explorers. It looks like a nice website. We can check it out. Explorers A to Z. So, what explorer do you want to learn about?
Good one, guys.
Christopher Columbus. Okay, great. Let's go to Christopher Columbus. So, All About Explorers is everything you've ever wanted to know about every explorer who ever lived and more. Christopher Columbus. So what it says here, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. Christopher Columbus was born in 1951 in Sydney, Australia. His home was on the sea, and Christopher longed to become an explorer and sailor. However, as a young man, Christopher went to Portugal and got involved in the map-making business with his brother Bartholomew. This business made Columbus a rich man. His books of maps are still found in every library in the world. Okay, so let's look at this first paragraph and see if we can spot some problems. Okay? What do you think is wrong with the first paragraph? Is there anything wrong with the first paragraph? Or is it all true?
Oh, go ahead, Deja.
It's like it needs a capitalized C first in Christopher.
No, actually it's a capitalized C. Well, let's continue reading and see if we can find anything. During this time, people were very interested in finding a sailing route around Africa to China, Japan, and India. They believed they would find expensive jewels and riches. The experts believed that sailing east was the best route. Columbus, however, argued that sailing in the opposite direction would get them to these lands much faster. King John II of Portugal, along with the kings of France and England, thought Columbus was crazy and refused to help him make the voyage. Okay, one last paragraph. Columbus knew he had to make this idea of sailing using a western route more popular, so he produced and appeared on infomercials which aired 4 times daily. Finally, the King and Queen of Spain called his toll-free number and agreed to help Columbus. Okay, have you noticed any errors in this article so far?
Information. There are. Alicia?
They said that he was on commercials.
Yeah, this whole paragraph. Okay, so he produced and appeared on infomercials. Somehow, Christopher Columbus, I don't think, would appear on infomercials because TV wasn't around when he was... But then again, up here they do say he was born in 1951. Do you think that that's true? Was Christopher Columbus born in 1951? Raise your hand if you think it's true. I don't see any raised hands. Good. Okay, Christopher Columbus. New window. Um, 1451. He was born in 1451. Okay? What is, now, if you compare the 1950s to the 1490s, what do you think are some differences between those two periods of time?
It's 500 years later.
It's, yeah, quite a few years later. The 1950s was right after World War II, and there's another error in this sentence. Christopher Columbus was born in 1951, Sydney, Australia. What is that error?
Yeah, Bobby.
He wasn't born in 19.
Yes, you're coming.
He was not born in Australia. Yeah, he was definitely not born in Australia. There is very close to nothing that is true here. If you look... Okay, so there's even a discrepancy with their own fake lie, okay? So they said he was born in 1951. If you scroll down, it says in 1942 he set sail. Unless Christopher Columbus can turn back time, there is no way that could happen. Unless you can start sailing when you're negative age. Yes, and he wasn't, and then it says he returned to Spain in 1939. He set sail in 1942. He returned in 1939. I'm starting to think that Christopher Columbus could turn back time here. So, pretty much everything here is false. Okay? Now, All About Explorers is a really cool looking website. It has Explorers A to Z, it has treasure hunts, web quest. Let's go to the About and see what why they're doing this. All About Explorers was developed by a group of teachers as a means of teaching students about the internet. Although the internet can be a tremendous resource for gathering information about a topic, we found that students often did not have the skills to discern useful information from worthless data. So, we have here a note about the content of this site. Because we wanted to make a point about finding useless information, even in a site which looked at first to be fairly well put together, all of the Explorer biographies here are fictional. What does that mean? All of the Explorer biographies here are fictional. What does that mean?
They're not real.
They're not real. They're made up. So they're funny to read, but do not use this site as a source of reference for your own research. Okay, great. So, now we know why they created that website. So All About Explorers is a kind of funny website to take a look at. You can show this to your parents.